Bandori, or Bang Dream as it is called in the West, is a huge multimedia franchise that highlights girl bands. These bands appear in anime and games related to the franchise. I'll be honest, I am not super knowledgeable about the franchise, but I still figured I would watch some of the anime they put out, mainly because I enjoy anime that have to do with music. Big Love Live guy here. So I decided to watch Ave Mujica, which seemed to be a bit on the darker side compared to some of the other series under the same umbrella. And boy oh boy, I had a great time watching this series. Unlike some of the other series that revolve around bands/musical groups I've watched, the series begins with an already formed band. The other series I've watched focus on the formation of the group and the troubles that come up from the growing pains of a newly formed group. Ave Mujica rather focuses on the problems that arise from not being on the same page as your fellow band members. I thought that was an interesting setup for the series because it opens up a lot of avenues that I personally thought were refreshing and different, as I have not seen a series focus on this idea before, though I'm sure there are a few already out there. Something that you can tell as soon as this series begins is that it won't exactly be a happy story. Just out of the gate, the colors are dark and kinda gloomy, if that's a good way to put it. The opening concert presents the mood very well with a sort of stage play. All of the band members are wearing floral masks. The floral masks come along with a stage name, which kind of relates to each character's inner battle or trauma. Sakiko is Oblivionis, which basically means to forget. Mutsumi is Mortis, which means death. Misumi is Dolorous, which means pain and suffering. Umiri is Timorous, which means fear or dread. And Niamu is Amoris, which is love or devotion. Each name is derived from a Latin term and adds to the mystique of the band itself, while also showing how the band doesn't want people to know their true identities. I do think the masks shown would not actually conceal their identity too well, but it is an anime, so everyone is a bit oblivious to hair accessories or other physical factors that show who a person is. The stage play that I mentioned consists of a puppet master and their puppets, or dolls, which relates to Sakiko's love of dolls. Then comes the music. Now the music in the series is by far the best part for me, as it kind of fits into what I enjoy listening to anyways, so I was able to grab a few songs for the playlist. But anyways, the music is a type of gothic rock that creates a bit of an edgy feel. I'm no music critic, so I don't know all the fancy terms, but the emotions in the music are overall negative, which adds to this foreboding feeling. Going back to the plot of the series, our characters are trying to find their place in the band while also tackling scars of their past. This creates internal battles in each of the characters where the scars of their past impact their ideals, and typically negatively affect the relationships between band members. As the plot progresses, the characters start making some decisions that just make you think, why the hell are you doing that? But if you really think about it, past trauma can make you less trusting or prone to make decisions in an attempt to protect yourself. This series does a perfect job of doing that, where it gets to a point where the characters are focused only on themselves rather than the band as a whole, which leads to fractures in an already fragile facade. I've talked about the characters a bit, so who are they anyways? Sakiko Togawa is the puppet master who started Ave Mujica as an attempt to regain control of her spiraling life. She has trouble forming relationships due to her family circumstances and past experiences with a band known as Cry Chick, which was shown briefly in the predecessor of the series, It's My Go, which is another Bandori title. In the band, she is the master pianist. Misumi Wika is the vocalist and backup guitarist for Ave Mujica, and is also Sakiko's childhood friend. She is also an idol in a two-person group known as Sumimi. She has a bit of a dark secret that she battles with throughout the series. Wakaba Mutsumi is the lead guitarist, and she is quite shy. She is also a childhood friend of Sakiko's. I think she took a page out of Bochi's book, except she is not as cheerful as Bochi is. Being the daughter of a famed actor and comedian, she just wants to be treated like a normal person. Yutenji Niamu is the drummer for the band, and an aspiring YouTuber and actress. She is a bit eccentric, but feels a bit overshadowed by the talent that surrounds her in the band. Yahata Umiri is the bassist of the band, and is probably the least utilized character in the series. She is just upset because those around her don't see her as trustworthy. So the characters are the driving force of this series, and their interactions basically make the plot progress. As I stated previously, the characters mainly focus on protecting themselves, and that creates fractures in the group. It is hard to tell if the characters actually like each other or not, which makes it surprising that they are all in a band together. It's difficult to root for the individual characters, but you just want to see the band succeed, if that makes sense. The series does a great job of focusing on each character's flaws and how they go through their daily life dealing with their problems. Unlike other series, there just seems to be no helping any of the characters, and the only salvation can be found in the band, where they can pretty much play their music to block out the outside noise. Without the band, each member is on the verge of collapse, and in the end, as the viewer, you know it is necessary that the band stay together just for the sake of sanity for the characters. So, I'm doing my best to keep this spoiler free, but I do want to go over some thoughts about the characters. Sakiko is a bit of a control freak, and she seems to be the major antagonistic force of the series. Though she is the main character, her lack of trust and desire for control creates major obstacles for the rest of the group. In reality, she is probably the most human member of the group, and by that I mean the most relatable. She has been betrayed all her life, and that betrayal has left scars, and she reacts like any human would. Unfortunately, that just so happens to typically be in a negative manner. One character probably impacted the most by Sakiko's decision making has to be Mutsumi. Mutsumi is probably the most interesting character of the show because she is constantly fighting an inner battle, mostly about wanting to please those around her while also accepting herself. I would continue on about her character, but that would go straight into spoiler territory. Misumi Wika is also a character that I find to be a super compelling character, as she has a dark secret that she battles with constantly. This secret keeps her on edge, afraid of what her childhood friend would think of her should she find out. Walking a tightrope of fear and angst, she attempts to deal with it. Her story arc is probably my favorite because it actually ends in the best way possible, unlike some of the others. But just know that Sakiko's actions, even prior to the formation of the band known as Ave Mujica, have heavily influenced the events of the series. Ave Mujica was 100% an experimental series done by Bandori to determine if fans would enjoy a series with the dark undertones present, and I found it to be very compelling. Even at the end of the story, you're still wondering if everything is settled, as there's not exactly a clear answer, but the ride the series takes you on is memorable and will have you wanting more. If you enjoy music anime, or even just psychological drama dealing with human emotion, then this series is a must-watch. Using the music as an outlet for past failures or trauma is what I would consider the overarching idea present in the story. And hey, even if you don't enjoy the series, give the music a try, because there are some bangers in their discography. I tried my best to keep this spoiler-free, and just an overview of the series. Let me know what you think of my little ramble and the series as a whole in the comments. But otherwise, I do hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you next time.